Well, hello, patriots, freedom fighters from across Saskatchewan, around the country, and throughout the world. Good to see you tonight. How we all doing? So, as it stands, I am streaming to Canada First on Facebook, Mark Friesen PPC on Facebook. There's Michelle Krieger over on Facebook, and Margaret Granny McKay. Good to see you. And oh, there's a lot of people there over on Facebook. Hey, Rochelle, how's it going? Thank you, thank you. It's coming along nicely. Really satisfied with my recovery to this point. It's been a long battle, but uh, coming around, coming around nicely. Hey, Laurie. Hey, Murray. So yeah, so I'm on those two Facebook platforms for some reason. I can't log into them, but I managed to connect to them. So shh. But yeah, share it out. And I'm also on YouTube. Uh, just Mark Friesen. Um, maybe I will put the link to my channel in the chat in case there are those that would prefer to watch on YouTube because it has a really good chat, although Facebook is pretty good too. So, yeah, thanks, Tam Jam. Um, yeah, so again, like I said, recovery's going well. I'm not fully there yet. I'm out of breath climbing the stairs, um, hauling in groceries. I'm really out of breath. Although I hauled in those big jugs of water the other day, and yeah, I was pretty out of breath, but I was able to do it. So that's good. So it's coming along. I figure by the summer sometime I should be pretty much all the way back. Knock on wood. So I'm also doing some acupuncture where my chiropractor turns me into a pincushion once a week. Um, you know who you are if you're watching. Thank you for what you're doing. It's helping. Thanks, Daphne. Appreciate it. So yeah, coming along. I still sleep a lot, and I think that's pretty normal. Uh, I sleep close to 12 hours a day, which I'm starting to feel guilty about doing, but it seems that my body needs it, so it is what it is. Um, yeah, so on that note, it's all good. So here's what I'm gonna do tonight. I don't have a guest. Um, I gotta start going live a little more often. Um, just because it's important. There's so much going on, and there's so much that we have to talk about. Me and Salim, we talk about our specific issues, and Salim is phenomenal. But I got to start going on a little bit more often now that I'm feeling better, and really start talking about some of the issues. Now, of course, I'm still banned on Facebook. I'm in Facebook jail, and that's a lot of discussion happens there, and a lot of people are exposed to information there. But I'm not there, so I'm on Twitter, and of course, I'm on Getter, and I'm on Gab, and it's all good. Uh, but those alternative platforms are great. But we're in these platforms in an echo chamber where you're preaching to the choir, right? And hey, Rio, how's it going, buddy? Um, and you know, it's important that I think we try at least, you know, with the mainstream platforms to try and, you know, reach some people that are maybe sitting on the fence, that are maybe, you know, not saying much, but they're watching and they're listening and they're learning. Um, you know, which is why I keep going back to YouTube and trying it. I keep going back to Facebook and trying it. Twitter's left me alone completely. I've never been banned on Twitter, although there have been times when I've been shadow banned horribly, but these days it doesn't seem too bad. We were sad you couldn't join us on Sunday. Sunday. What was Sunday? Armor H. Oh, yes. Well, you know what? I had full intentions. Me and my wife had full intentions of going. But really, the only reason I was going was because other people had asked me to come along and help. Um, so that's why I didn't show up. Because nobody else did. It wasn't for me. I was doing it for other people that wanted some help. So hopefully next time. Kellyanne Wolf, how's it going? Yes, I did, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that Lori Hay. I obviously found that out today. Um, Jeremy McKenzie was arrested again in Nova Scotia. I don't have the article handy on my computer, but there was an article written about, you know, Jeremy, and apparently they're at a protest, and apparently Jeremy and his uh, girlfriend Morgan were arrested, um, charged with mischief and a few other things. So you know, thoughts out, and they're not getting out. They have a bail hearing on Friday, and apparently they'll be locked up until at least Friday till they get that. Yeah, they sure are. You know, um, they pick their targets. Let's be honest. Oh, by the way, there's the YouTube channel if you're interested. Um, so yeah, thoughts out to Jeremy and his girl Morgan. Hopefully they'll be released on Friday on bail. We'll see how it goes. We'll pay attention and watch. So Twitter roundup. I figure it's the easiest way for me to go through a lot of what's going on because I tweet about everything, right? And I'm still very active on Twitter, and they leave me alone. So, oh, Kellyanne says, "Say a prayer for me this weekend. We're going big in Toronto." All right, cool. We'll be watching. Are you expecting trouble? Yes, and those members of the European Parliament are right about Canada. Hello? Ellie?
You up to?
I'm live.
Oh, goodbye, lad.
That was my wife, Yannicka, peeking in to see what I'm up to. All right, see ya, baby. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to talk about that too, Bob, here in a minute. So lots, you'll see, there'll be lots to talk about tonight. Yes, she is, Kelly. She is, as they say, my rock. So where do we start? All right. Oh, there we are. And all right, so here we go. Let's start here. It's a good place to start. So I tweeted this out a little earlier because I had found out, unfortunately, one of our trucker heroes who spent a month sleeping in his truck on a street in Ottawa defending our rights and freedoms has had some tough luck as of late. This was his truck. And this is his truck now. So we are hoping that, you know, a few folks can come together and help him out. You know, the thing of it is, there's been a few people mention, what about insurance? So it's still being investigated. They don't think it was deliberately set. based on the video. They haven't been able to see anybody on video. So it looks like it could have been an electrical issue. And again, chances are probably pretty good that his insurance will cover the damage. But let's face it, I mean, the guy didn't work for a month while he's sitting in downtown Ottawa being harassed by cops, not with no income, right? And so now, obviously, he's got the opportunity to drive, and this happens. So somebody, sent me the pictures and had asked if I could post on Twitter to help him out a little bit, and hopefully we can do that. We can come together and send the guy a few bucks. Obviously he doesn't have a truck to drive until insurance. That takes some time. They got to investigate, and then they got to approve, and then he's got to go buy one or whatever the deal is. I don't know, but in the interim, it would be nice if we sort of came together and helped this guy out. He sacrificed a lot sitting in Ottawa for a month, so I don't see a problem with that. I had no problem putting that out there. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about, and thanks Danielle for mentioning this and getting me to act on it. Yes, big protest for Archer Pawlowski in Calgary this weekend. That's obviously another thing we need to talk about. Archer is still locked up. This is what I wanted to ask. Does anybody know? Is Pat King still in jail? Somebody can answer in the chat. I'm curious because I haven't heard anything about Pat. And, in the past, me and Pat have had our disagreements. And, sometimes Pat can be a bit of a meathead. But at the same time, he's got a huge heart. He's, he's everywhere. Wherever there's a rally or some kind of protest, Pat's usually got his face right in the front, doing his thing. And so should he be locked up? Absolutely not. Of course not. He does sometimes say some things that get him in trouble, and not just with our opposition, but sometimes within. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know when he'll be getting out. As I'm seeing now that he still is in jail, and he shouldn't be. Not for what he said or did. He's no danger to anybody. Oh, he's got another bail hearing tomorrow. All right, good to know. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all, Lori. I don't doubt that in the least. I worked federal corrections for a long time, and if I knew anybody that went into the federal system, I could probably, get him to be treated fairly well, just knowing people throughout. But unfortunately, all these provincial joints are different, and there's nothing I could do. Chris has been handling it all. Oh, yeah, okay. I thought Pat had some issues with Chris and his lawyers who were representing him. I mean, I don't know because I'm not involved, but that's one of the things I had heard. So, where did you mention me, Kelly? Anyways, moving on. As I said, this is the Twitter roundup, not Chris. Oh, okay, that makes sense then. All right, okay. Hello, Julie McNamara. How's it going? Good to see you. All right, what else do we got? Oh yes, this will be fun. So, and I'm just going in as it comes down my feed on Twitter. So, but here it is. I have to address this guy. I'm going to pull up his video, and then I'm just going to tear it apart as he goes along. So, yeah,
Hey, my opinion on how to kill this. First of all, there's absolutely zero you can do about it. The only way to make this go away is in the next election. And I'm going to say this way. Okay, first of all, the PPC have no chance. Stop voting for them. Okay, they don't even have a seat in parliament. The Green Party's got more than they got. You need to get a conservative majority government in the next election and stop being distracted by 4 or 5 smaller parties that are promising the world that don't even have a seat in parliament. They're never going to get a seat in parliament because there just isn't enough support, because there's too many people out there like me that are Gen X that'll never vote for new upstarts because they don't have any track record. Okay.
So let me interpret that. Let me translate what that actually means. So he said it himself, right? He's a guy that absolutely will not vote for the PPC just because, right? He's going to vote. He thinks that we need the CPC in with a majority. That's what he thinks is best. But he has no idea, obviously, the level of corruption, the level of globalism that surrounds the CPC. I'm going to say this for probably the 1,000th time. The Conservative Party is the party of globalism in Canada. They are the party responsible for first bringing it to Canada in 1992. Stephen Harper, the Prime Minister from the Conservative Party, in 2008 made sustainable development law with the Sustainability Act, which then compels the Canadian government to report our progress to the UN in regards to achieving the goals of sustainable development. They made it law in Canada. Stephen Harper was the last prime minister to sign on to the last incarnation of the UN Agenda 2030 in 2015, 1 month before the election of Justin Trudeau, who his first week in gave a press conference stating that Canada will be the first post-nation state. So this guy, because the PPC doesn't have a seat in Parliament, who isn't corrupt, who isn't a globalist party, who isn't part of Parliament, who has sold us down the river, because the PPC isn't that, he's telling people not to vote for the PPC. And that we need a conservative majority. Here's what's going to happen. All right. And this leads me into the next little bit. I'll let this guy carry on in a minute. Yes, Jagmeet Singh and Trudeau just formed an alliance. Guess what, folks? That alliance has been in place for 3 years since Blackface and his liberals have had a minority. Okay? It's been this way for 3 years. Nothing has changed with Jagmeet getting on his knees for Trudeau today. Nothing's changed. Absolutely nothing's changed. We couldn't run a non-confidence vote for the last 3 years during their minority governments because the NDP were backing them up. Nothing has changed. All this is today is theater. That's all it is. It's theater. It's to rally the troops. The Conservatives can now use that, and I don't understand why, to rally the troops, to get everyone worked up. Nothing's changed. It's exactly the same thing as it's been for the last 3 years since they've been in minority. The NDP have been propping them up. Nothing's changed today. It's exactly the same as it was. So they're going to be in power for till 2025, it looks like. I don't think so. I think other things are going to happen. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that it is. All right. That's what we have for the next 3 years. What happens when the table turns and Canada elects the other globalist party, the party that brought us globalism? Do you think anything improves? Do you honestly think anything improves? The Conservatives were in power for 10 years. Yes, in part by a minority for a lot of those years. They did nothing. They did nothing as advertised. They held the line. They continued on. They allowed things to happen. Nothing changed. We still lost pipelines. Nothing changed. You might get the odd minor difference. Negligible. Means nothing. All of our problems, and I'll say this for the 1,000th time, all of our problems in Canada are related to the World Economic Forum and the UN, the Great Reset, the Sustainable Development Agenda, all of it. All of it. It's all globalism. Every part of globalism affects all aspects of our lives in Canada, all of it. Whether it's COVID, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's war, it's all fear mechanisms. Every single one of them are fear mechanisms used to put and instill fear in the masses so they can condition them. And as we've witnessed for the last 2 years through COVID, it's all conditioning, social engineering, all of it, to get people to agree to what's coming, right? And if you think for a second electing the Conservative Party is going to fix it, you couldn't be more wrong. This guy couldn't be more wrong. I'm going to let him carry on for a minute. Yes, everybody wants our resources. Of course they do. The world needs our resources.
Max Bernier is a career politician, and he was just, listen, I like the fact that what he stands for, but
yes, I like what he stands for, but I'm going to sell out my values because the Conservatives are the only ones who can get elected.
The reason he's standing that way is because he got all soured out because he didn't get the leadership of the Conservative Party in the first place, okay? So that being said, that means this. We need a Conservative majority. It is the only thing that can reverse all the shit that these morons are doing to us.
So again, I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him before, but he obviously has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He obviously has no idea what the agendas are and how they affect Canadians and how they affect how we're governed. And by the way, we're not governed by Canadians. We're governed by foreign entities. We have puppets in place that are yes men to these entities. This guy doesn't get that. And for some reason, thinks the Conservatives aren't globalist when they're the ones that brought it to us. I don't know what else to say.
And for all you little fuckers that are going to come on the page and start coming, oh, man, this is great for the country and whatever, go fuck yourselves. Okay?
So another brilliant argument. Just a phenomenal argument, right? When you don't have an argument, what do? You call people names. That's what you do.
At the end of the day, the only way to get rid of these clowns now, because this is in effect, it's not a true coalition government, okay? That's usually done right after the election. They usually said, okay, let's work together.
That's exactly what they've been doing since Trudeau has been in a minority. We know this. This is why nothing changes. This is why nothing happens. This is why, and when the Conservatives have an opportunity to actually voice opposition, they usually don't anyway. They usually just go along with the government. For 2 years during COVID, while the rest of us are getting screwed over in each of our provinces, the Conservatives said nothing. They promoted the vaccines. They promoted digital ID. They promoted VaxPass. So where were they? Where have they been? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, when the time is right, Pierre Poilievre decides, just look at the truckers' convoy. How long did it take him to support that? Right up until almost the end, before the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre decided, maybe we should support them. And what did they do? They didn't do anything other than a few words in a microphone. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Okay, that's a true coalition. What this is a save my ass because the world wants to come to my door and hang me coalition. That's what Trudeau's thinking. So at the end of the day, you need to know that he's done this as a self-preservation act. And this gives...
He was already preserved with the NDP. This means nothing. This is just business as usual. Jagmeet, he's destroying himself as leader of the NDP. He's destroying the NDP, period, because he's completely sold out. But he's already done that. This is nothing new.
Him majority power now. Okay, majority power. He doesn't need anything now because, in effect, Bagmeat has gone and said, hey, I'll support every single thing you put through no matter what. Let's shake on that. So they touched dicks, and they were pretty happy about the whole thing and their little sausage party. And now we're in a situation where the Liberals can put through any fucking thing they want.
The Liberals have put through anything they've wanted since day one of Trudeau being elected, because they've already had the NDP on side. Look at every bill that's passed Parliament, that's passed through Parliament and the Senate. Look at every one of the bills. Every single one of the bills is in relation or in commitment or in concert with UN Sustainable Development Agenda, World Economic Forum, Great Reset, all of it. Everything he's put through. And he's been able to do it for the last 3 years in a minority government because the NDP's always been there. Nothing's changed.
The Conservatives can't stop them because a bunch of you voted PPC in the last election and should not have. Okay. Max is never going to get in. You need to.
So that's false. It wasn't the PPC's fault that they didn't get in. They had O'Toole as a leader. They had a Liberal as a leader. And somehow they think it's our fault. The people who are actually defending values, defending principles, holding on to our convictions, and somehow it's our fault. We respect our values. We hold our values firm and principled. Somehow it's our fault for doing that. That we should sell out our values and principles to the Conservatives so they can get power. It's not our fault. It's not our fault they're globalist. It's not our fault that they do what they do. We just happen to have integrity. We just happen to value and cherish our principles and our values. You don't. You already told us that.
To get that out of your heads, you guys. You need to understand that this three-party system with the Green Party dragging over on the side and the Bloc, which is a provincial party, and actually the Bloc, I'm going to backtrack on the Bloc because, first of all, I don't agree with it because it's a provincial party in federal politics. There's no place for that. However, currently they're supporting the Conservatives.
Well, there again, he's wrong. It's not a provincial party. It is a federal party, but it is regional, and it is only for Quebec, and it is separatist. So what are they doing there? It's okay for them to be in the debates, a separatist regional party, but God forbid PPC, a national party, isn't in the debates. And on that, as me and Salim have discussed, and Sean Taylor, if we were in a proportional government, a proportional electoral system, the PPC would have seats in the House right now, based on the number of people that voted for us, which is almost 1 million people. We would have seats in the House if it was based on proportionality, which it isn't. First past the post, whatever. It is what it is.
And even with their full support, we still don't have enough to do any damage to these idiots. So
really, I mean, in the end, guys like this basically concede because they lack knowledge, they lack information, they're bullheaded, stubborn, and lazy, and they don't want to do the work. Yes, an incredible amount of work is ahead of us if we're going to change the hearts and minds of people who generally share the same values as us. Yes, it's going to take a lot of hard work. Yes, it's going to take a lot of miles. I've put on, 50,000 kilometers in the last 3 years, just traveling to and from town hall events to do just that, educate people. And I'll tell you what, here's an example of how that has benefited the political landscape, even in just Saskatchewan. Scott Moe was one of the first premiers in Canada to announce they're going to be lifting the restrictions. In fact, I think they were the first. The only reason Scott Moe, the premier of Saskatchewan, did that was because his support, the support for his party, which is based mostly in rural Saskatchewan, are the people that said, you know what, Scott, we're going to stop donating. The Sask Party, the traditional party here in Saskatchewan of conservative values representing, the province, but mostly rural Saskatchewan. The cities are infected with NDP communists. But there's still some ridings in cities that support, conservatism. So that's, whatever it is, what it is. But they had 10% of their donations that they normally would have even the year prior, or 2 years prior, or 3 years prior. 10%. Where did we focus our town hall events? In rural Saskatchewan. Now, again, we did a number of them in Saskatchewan, in Alberta, in BC. Fantastic. 100 people here, a couple hundred people there, whatever it was. But each one of those people talked to the rest of the people in their communities. They still have that line of communication. They still talk to each other. They still talk to their neighbors. They talk to their friends and their family. It's different in the city. People don't talk to each other. The neighbors hardly know each other anymore. So I guarantee what we did influenced the masses here in Saskatchewan, influenced people to get off their ass, start talking to people, develop community, share the information. And guess what? That influences governments. That tells governments, hey, if you're going to keep power, you better start playing ball. You better start doing what the people want you to do. Now, our job isn't over. Scott Moe is still, pushing forward with digital ID and other horseshit. That just means we have to get back out there and keep talking and keep spreading the word, keep spreading information, educating people. And that's exactly what we're doing. We got 2 events in April so far scheduled. We want to schedule some more. But that's what it's going to take. That's what it has to take. The people have to get out there. People have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to talk to people. You have to be willing to educate and inform people as to what's really going on. This guy doesn't do anything. This guy floats on the surface, runs his mouth, and for some reason, I guess people listen to things like this. He hasn't said a damn thing. His whole rant, he hasn't said anything that means anything. It's all surface. All of it's just sitting on the surface.
Having said that, when the next election comes, you need to vote conservative to get rid of all this mess.
So he's saying vote globalism, right? Vote globalism. Any establishment party in Parliament right now is 100% in support of the Great Reset and sustainable development. Remember, when Pierre Poilievre suggests that he's against the Great Reset, the right questions need to be asked of him when he says this. There was something floating around on Twitter there a while back where somebody had asked him or emailed him and, took a screenshot of their email. And the question was, do you denounce the World Economic Forum? And of course, yes, he said, I sure do. But that wasn't the right question. When you ask that question, you ask Pierre Poilievre to denounce the Sustainable Development Agenda, Agenda 2030. That's what you have to get him to denounce, because this is what they're doing. Kenny's done the same thing. They only focus on the World Economic Forum, on the Great Reset. They can shit talk that till they're blue in the face. But they never talk about Agenda 2030. They never talk about the Sustainable Development Agenda. And why don't they talk about it? Because they can't. Because they are the party responsible for bringing it to us. They are responsible. Look at their website. It screams sustainable development goals. And Poilievre somehow thinks he's not going to impose a carbon tax. What's he going to do? They'll just do what they've done before. It's the bait and switch. Okay, we won't call it a carbon tax. We'll call it carbon pricing, which equates to exactly the same thing. Living up to the Paris Accord. It's exactly the same thing. And what's the Paris Accord? One element of Sustainable Development Agenda. The same agenda that they brought to Canada, the Conservative Party. So when you're hammering them on the World Economic Forum, remember that it was the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab that formally partnered with the UN to achieve the goals of sustainable development in June of 2019. Please, when you're hammering Porlever, make sure you ask the right questions. Don't just focus, and this is what they want. They want everyone to focus on the World Economic Forum and Great Reset because it's easy pickings, it's cherry picking. But hit them with the sustainable development, they'll shut down. They'll ignore you. They'll call it a conspiracy theory still to this day because they're the ones who are responsible for it. And this
TikTok
guy,
will be
and this guy has absolutely no idea. No idea. I mean, how deep did this guy go through his whole little rant? Nowhere. He floated on top.
quiet. I can tell you that. You probably never hear a word out of me. But I can tell you this, what they're doing to this country is damaging beyond any kind of control. And for those of you who think it's okay, yeah, you let me know how it is in 2025 when every single move you make is tracked and you're not all of a sudden you want a case of beer one day and your fucking digital currency won't work because your social credit score says you don't have enough points to buy beer. Because that's how that works. Think that through.
Well, he's not wrong there. That's what's coming. But, I mean, he has to know that the Conservatives are the party that has agreed to all of this. So, I mean, I don't know.
Hey, my opinion on how to kill this. First of all, there's absolutely zero you can do about it. The only way to make this go away is in the next election, and I'm going to...
Okay, shush. We already listened to you once. That's enough. What's going on here? How come I can't go back? Oh, that's why. All right. All right. So let's carry on. I'm just going to check the chat and see what's happening over there. Psychological conditioning will not stop as long as we entertain those responsible for implementing. 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. See you, Kelly. I guess she's gone. Yeah, getting back to work soon. Hitting the road in May for cross country. Very good. PPC, I voted for the last 2 times. Yeah. What the heck is Canada going to look like in 2025? Well, so here's the thing, Bob. And I've said this, I don't know, probably 1,000 times as well. Everything that we're watching, everything we're going through is necessary. I mean, lots was accomplished with the trucker convoy. And I think that the main takeaway from that is it showed how disgustingly evil the media is, how they lie and how they frame their narratives. That was exposed through the convoy because everyone was live streaming, everyone was filming, and a lot of people got to see what was actually happening. There's actually mainstream people. I'll give you one example. What's her name? Prozac. I can't remember her first name. She's a radio personality. And instead of just following the narrative that was established for her working in the business, she decided to go on her own to Ottawa and walk through where all the trucks were parked and walk through the area. And she did her own, video and made the point that this is nothing like what has been shown on the news. It's exact opposite. In fact, everyone that she came across was very loving and accommodating and happy to see her and blah, blah, blah. It was one big love fest. And of course, she said very clearly that this is completely different than what the media has made it out to be. And that's why she decided that she had to go out on her own to Ottawa to see for herself. And she did. And so those things are happening, right? So the trucker convoy was able to sort of bust through and wake up a lot more people, thank God. But everything that's going to happen, COVID, a lot more people have woken up. And trust me, when I tell you, for years, I've been screaming into this black hole by myself. and going through the labeling of conspiracy theorists about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and all this stuff, where there was very few people that knew what was happening. Very few people understood what was going on. Very few people would give me the time of day to listen to my crazy ramblings, when all I was doing was putting out the information that they themselves, the globalists, have put together. That's all I did. I was just a messenger. But it has changed so much just in the last 3.5 years that I've been at this, from when I started on the ground, doing these rallies and whatever, to where we are now. It's unbelievable how many more people are awake and talking about this. Social media is flooded with it, with globalism and the globalist agenda and social credit and digital ID and digital currency and all these things. There's so many people on social media that get it. So it's happening. But all these things, most people won't wake up until it touches them, until it affects them directly. They're not going to listen to some guy who's speaking at something, some rally or protest. They don't go to rallies and protests because they don't know that there's anything to protest, because the media doesn't tell them there's something to protest. So things have to happen. They have to be touched by these things. They have to be affected directly, personally. And when they are, they will start to ask questions. They will start to ask important questions, serious questions, because it's affecting their lives directly. So all these things that are happening, once the masses are impacted, gas prices, everyone should be relating the gas prices to what's happening. Now, what they want to do is attach gas fuel prices right now at the gas stations because of Russia, Ukraine. But it's all by design. And I'm going to show you something else here coming up probably pretty quickly. Let me just have a look here. I like this. I got to stop and give Theo some kudos. Somebody's star has burnt out. Loser. Always has been, always will be. Clown, prince of stupidism. I love Theo. Anyways, I'm going to hit what he's talking about next one here. And I'll get to the other point I was going to make further down in my tweets here. But this was fantastic. You guys have probably seen this, maybe not. Let's have a listen.
Premijeru Trudeau. Poštovane kolege, dragi građani, premijeru Trudeau. Sloboda, pravo izbora, pravo na život i zdravlje, pravo na rad za mnoge od nas, to su temeljna ljudska prava za koje su milioni građana Europe i svijeta položili svoje živote. Za obranu naših prava i prava naše djece, koje smo stjecali stoljećima, mnogi od nas, uključujući i mene, spremni smo riskirati vlastitu slobodu i položiti vlastite živote. Nažalost, danas su među nama i oni koji gaze te temeljne vrijednosti. Kanada, nekada simbol modernog svijeta, je pod vodstvom vaše kvazi-liberalne čizme proteklih mjeseci postala simbol kršenja temeljnih ljudskih prava i građanskih sloboda. Gledali smo kako konjima gaze žene, kako samohranim roditeljima blokirate bankovne račune, da ne mogu platiti djeci školovanje, da ne mogu platiti lijekove, da ne mogu platiti račune za struju i vodu, da ne mogu platiti rate kredita za svoje domove. Za vas su to možda liberalne metode. Međutim, za mnoge građane svijeta to je diktatura najgore vrste. Budite uvjereni da građani svijeta, udruženi, mogu zaustaviti svaki režim koji želi uništiti slobodu građana, bilo bombama, bilo štetnim farmaceutskim proizvodima. Hvala.
I can't tell you how wonderful that is, how beautiful it is to hear somebody from the outside looking in doing this on a grand scale. It's absolutely phenomenal. What's sad in our case is it takes somebody like this Croatian politician to actually do it. Has any politician in Canada, any conservative politician in Canada, even come close to saying what this guy just said? Because what this guy just said is exactly what we've all been saying for 2 years, what we've all been ranting about at our rallies and our protests, big or small, at our convoys, what the truckers convoy, what they were saying for a whole month in downtown Ottawa. This guy said it. Has any other politician in Canada representing the people of Canada ever come close to saying anything this guy just said? No, the answer is absolutely not. And that is disgusting, thoroughly disgusting. Federally, any party in Parliament, not one MP, none of them came close to what this guy said. Provincially, not one MLA across the board has come close to saying what this guy said. Maybe a couple. Maybe Randy Hillier, as an elected official. Maybe Roman Baber came close. Credit where credit's due. Very few and far between. I can tell you in Saskatchewan, there hasn't been one politician stick their head out of their own foxhole to say anything in defense of our rights and freedoms. That thousands of Canadian soldiers gave the ultimate sacrifice in defending and protecting. Not one. Disgusting human beings. They are paid to represent especially minorities like us who stood up for these rights and freedoms, stood up for the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is not what gives us our rights and freedoms. It's only there to support them, to put the reins on government. And not one politician worth any salt in this country stood up and said the words that this guy did. Not one. Did they ever go to a rally? Anyone? Any of these elected officials paid and elected to represent us? Did any of them show up to a rally? Did any of them make any speech like this guy just did? Not one. Disgusting human beings. You'll never get a vote from us. From the people that watch my shows and the people that know me, you'll never get votes from us, ever. And we will do whatever we can. I will commit the rest of my life to ensuring that you never get another seat in public office again. Because you have completely disgraced yourselves as elected officials. Completely and utterly disgraced yourselves across the board. Every province, every provincial government, every municipal government, every federal official. You've all disgusted yourselves, disgraced yourselves. And again, I will make it my life's work to ensure that you people never see an elected position again. Nadine Wilson's fantastic. She is now obviously independent. So kudos to Nadine. She's not part of this Haas party anymore because I think they kicked her out or she left, like one or the other. All right, let's move on. Max, we need Max, he will say. And exactly. He's proven it. He's proven it over and over again, right? And again, when I say that there hasn't been an elected official to come to the plate like this, I'm not referring to Max because Max isn't an elected official. Excuse me. Max is, is what it is. Thanks, Michelle. I know I'm not alone, even though sometimes it feels like it, but not anymore. 100%. But yes, thanks, Joan, for mentioning Nadine Wilson. Fantastic. I've had the opportunity to speak with Nadine, and yeah, it's all good. In fact, Nadine had invited me to go down to the legislature for the budget. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not exactly sure what the date was. I'll have to touch base with her again, but I'm hoping to go down for that. So that'll be good. Let's carry on here a little bit. The question of Canada having innovative minds to continue to not only survive but to thrive is not even a question worth asking. The spirit needs to be nurtured instead of stomped on by globalist agenda. So here's the thing, and this is a good tweet. How can we get the following done? All access, all across the country, and set an example for the rest of the world. Greenhouse in the snow, grow in geothermal, highly efficient, low energy use, fresh produce all year from greenhouse to table. So here's the thing, right? Nobody talks about this because this is an actual solution to some of our problems. We are completely dependent on transportation and importation of our produce and our fruits and vegetables and all this. Completely dependent, right? So at whatever whim these globalists decide we're going to have distribution issues, transportation issues, cross-border problems, vaccination problem, blah, 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 you name it, whatever it is they want to use to shut it down. We're completely open to that. We're completely exposed. Where there's actually people that will innovate if the conditions are there to promote and nurture this innovation. That's what the free market does. The free market encourages innovation and promotes innovation, and people will innovate because the drive to support themselves, to support their families through innovation, through creation. This is what spawns creation and innovation, is this free market. And this is exactly what the globalists want to shut down. They hate innovation. They hate free market. They can't stand it. They need to control everything. And that's what they're moving towards. It wasn't good enough that national governments controlled everything. Now they want to do it globally. This is why they need to change everything. This is why they need the control mechanisms. They need to control the populations, the masses, through social credit, through digital ID, through digital currency, through all these control mechanisms, social credit, so they can control everything and completely destroy creativity, innovation. Look at any communist state that's ever existed. That's exactly what happens. Creation is completely killed. Innovation is completely destroyed. Free market is gone. The government determines everything. And that goes for fascism too. They're both the same. They're both on the same side of the political spectrum. They're way over here on the left. They're just two branches that have been fighting for this power for the last 100 years. Now they've come together and converged. Now they're going to bring the two ideologies together to achieve global governance and dominance. This is what we're seeing. This is what's happening. Kenny is changing everything on the review mail in voting only. He is scrambling. I'm not sure what you mean, Maria. Yes, shut down the vaccine. It's not safe. 100%. Thank you, Mark. Seeing you at rallies, informing people on the truth of what's happening. People need to wake up. There's no split in the vote. PPC is the only party against globalism. It is. It is. It's that simple. It's that easy. You're absolutely right, Mo. That was today, Mark. You missed it. What did I miss? Oh, was that today? Oh, Michelle, because I was looking at the date. 23rd sounded a little bit funny. I think you're right. if you probably know better than I do because I wasn't paying attention. I was doing other stuff with my business. But yeah, I think you're right because the 23rd sounded familiar. So that's too bad. Oh well, that's the way it goes. Yeah. All right. So there you go. Okay. I did miss it. Oh well. Okay, we already talked about this. And again, if there's other people here that haven't seen this, one of the truckers that was in Ottawa for the whole time, start to finish, his truck burnt down here a few days ago, or a couple days ago, or maybe last night. I don't know. And it's not that he won't have insurance; he probably will, but that's going to take some time. He spent a whole month in Ottawa, not working, not driving, not earning, and now he's benched again, and we'll have to wait till insurance kicks in. So somebody approached me with this, and I thought, yeah, I'll tweet it and get it out there. So if you're in a position that you can help, throw him a few bucks. I'm sure it'd be greatly appreciated, just to keep him going. So that's that. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want him to be attacked. It's one thing to have his email up there, jmk150 at mymts.net. That's one thing, but I'm not going to identify him. I'm not going to call him out. So the trolls and the commies start going after him. There's no point. So, all right, what else do we got? So far, it's looking, yeah, okay. And yes, it looks like it wasn't deliberately set. They had a camera on the yard that it was parked at where it happened, and they didn't see anybody coming and going. They didn't see anybody in and around the truck. It's still being investigated, but it looks like it was probably an electrical malfunction of some description. So that's that. Yeah. So that's that. And then there's this. Seriously, it's so insane. So here is our prime minister. Majority of seats empty during Trudeau's speech to European Parliament. So the European Parliament doesn't even want to hear what this douchebag has to say. And somebody underneath the tweet, somebody said that the CBC said that he received a standing ovation. I don't know if it's true or not, but it sure made me laugh to just think about, of course, the CBC is going to say that, 8 people are sitting there listening to this fruitcake give a speech. And, yeah, chances are those 8 people stood and gave him a standing ovation. I love it. People are hilarious. Let's see. What else do we got here? Oh, hang on. I got off my profile here. Hang on. Let's go back. So I have to, when I go live like this, I sort of have to be cued by my Twitter because there's so many things going on that I guarantee I would forget to talk about it. So interesting, Trudeau doing what he did, by doing what he is told by the people that want nation states destroyed. So in other words, Trudeau's a puppet. He'll just do what he's told by the World Economic Forum and the UN. He is waking a nation. And I truly believe that. It's this race, right? And I've talked about this before too. It's this race that we're in. They need to achieve these goals before the masses wake up to these goals and what the consequences to these are. And it's this race, right? And so we're a little bit behind. Well, probably a lot behind, but we will get there. I'm convinced we will get there. And the more that this idiot continues to push this, the more that the globalists at the World Economic Forum continue to push and expose themselves, like through COVID, like through Ukraine and Russia, the more people will wake up to the reality of what's really going on. Because let's face it, Ukraine, Russia is, and they've said it again, like they did with COVID, they're going to use this as a means, as a mechanism to achieve the goals that they have set out for themselves. And I'm going to get to a link here right away that's going to further explain that. But anyways, and yes, slowly but surely, Singh, by riding Trudeau's coattails, is destroying the NDP. And he is, right? The NDP of Jack Layton, obviously, and Jack had a ton of support and had a huge following. I, of course, wasn't one of them. I don't share those values. But it's a completely different show than what Jack Layton did with the NDP. He was actually able to show his support for the working man, for the union people. And let's face it, those people, are just as valuable as the rest. Hardworking, blue-collar people that work for unions. It is what it is. I worked 25 years in a union. I didn't like it because I don't like collectivism. I don't like being a number, but that's the reality. And most people that get hired don't have a choice but to join unions, right? So, but at the same time, Jack Layton at least resonated with those people. Jagmeet Singh absolutely does not. Jagmeet Singh has sold out any value or principle that the NDP has ever had to ride the coattails of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. So what good is he? Completely destroyed whatever Jack Layton had built. Good for you, Jag. Keep doing what you're doing. You too, Trudeau. Keep it up. Because the only way this shit ends is when people wake up and understand exactly what it is that's happening. All right. And this is one of the ways that we're doing it. So I'm getting back on the horse, and I'm pretty pumped about it because it's been a while. We have the Freedom Forum, Saturday, April 9th, 7 p.m. at the East Center in Swift Current. Myself and RB Ham are getting back on that town hall horse and going to start, again, continuing on sharing the information, sharing the message. And so we have this one, and we have another one booked on the 23rd of April in Esterhazy. Looking forward to that. And looking to book more. And as it stands, we can only book on weekends. RB is working full time, and of course, my business is now starting to pick up. So we are leaving our weekends open. So if anybody out there, throughout Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, even BC, we're probably looking at doing something further into the spring, maybe early summer. And I'd also like to take a trip through Northern Ontario and stopping along the way in some places there, maybe Kenora, maybe Dryden, maybe Thunder Bay, these types of places, the Sioux, Sudbury, North Bay, Wawa, all those kind of places. So we're looking at doing something like that, probably further into the summer, when I can handle a big trip like that. But if you're interested, if your community is interested, by all means, let us know, and you can do that at what? What's the email address? Why do I forget what my email address is? No, it's info. That's right. Of course, dummy. It's info@ffcs.info. Send a message over to that email. Dave Bjorkman says, Croatia, Ukraine, and many others are Republicans. They come in at 67.8% in the USA. Russians gravitate to Republicans at 98.6%. Jerry Diaz got caught pocketing 50,000. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, Dave. It's in my tweets here. Yeah. So anyways, if you're interested and you want to get your community together and understanding and listening to to what's happening in the world, by all means, send us an email. We'll get you squared away. Yeah, this is pretty disgusting. This is in Saskatchewan. It's a little embarrassing to say so, but pro-COVID mandate rallies held in Saskatchewan. I'm not going to play the video. I don't have to. It's, I think, probably 10 people in Saskatoon, maybe 12 in Regina, that are protesting the government lifting all the mandates and restrictions because they would like more communism. They would like more fear. They're actually, one of the things they're asking for is to tell us how many cases there are every day. This is their whole deal. This is what they want. You get addicted to fear. Hey, people get addicted to this response to the crisis, to the fear. And it really is, it acts like a drug. It really does. I know this from working in corrections for 25 years. When I left, I missed that sense of fear, that adrenaline, that almost panic, right? It's that adrenaline. It's serotonin. It's all these drugs, chemicals in your brain that are activated by fear and by, this situation. And people get addicted to it. And when it's gone, they don't know what to do with themselves because that fear is gone, right? Like that response to the fear, the adrenaline is gone. They don't know what to do with themselves or how to get that feeling back. And so they live in this perpetual state of fear because it's what they've grown used to. It's what they've been conditioned to be in this state. And it's pretty disgusting. And I feel sorry for people like that because it's the government and it's the media that created these monsters. 100%. Yeah. Anyway, so Viva Frei got in on the action. That's that same speech from the Croatian politician. So good to see Viva spreading that love. I'm not going to get into that. And Laura Lynn had Dr. Peter McCullough on today, so you might want to check that out. Here's that speech again by that fella. So this is hilarious. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. I'll go through the bit of the article with you because it's kind of entertaining. Oh, where'd it go? Did they? Oh no, there it comes. Jerry Diaz. So he's the president, or used to be the president of Unifor. Accepted money from COVID-19 rapid test supplier, Unifor alleges. Canada's largest private sector union alleged Wednesday that its former national president, Jerry Diaz, who is a complete douchebag, was all about the fear, was all about the restrictions and the mandates, blah, 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 for the longest time. Accepted $50,000 from a supplier of COVID-19 rapid test kits he promoted to employers of union members, several of whom purchased those test kits. Of course they did. Unifor National Secretary Treasurer Lana Payne said at a press conference Wednesday that Diaz is being charged with violating the code of ethics and democratic practices of the union's constitution after the internal investigation. Well, hopefully that goes and moves into, maybe civil lawsuits or even criminal. Maybe somebody can lay some criminal charges on that douchebag. That would be good. What you're about to hear will be distressing, but I remind you all that no one member is above our Constitution, not the highest ranking elected officers. No one, Payne said. We are all equal under that Constitution. She announced Diaz will now be subject to a hearing hosted by the union's executive board as soon as April, which could result in his Unifor membership being suspended temporarily or permanently. The allegations Unifor leveled have cast a shadow on Diaz. Once their tough-talking, scrappy leader who sparred with everyone from automakers to politicians in a bid to secure better job security, benefits, and rights for workers. But this is I'm not going to go any further. We don't need to hear any more of this. But this is what communism is. This is why communism doesn't work. This is why socialism doesn't work, because there's always somebody at the top who's in charge of people, who's in charge of money, who's in charge of influence, who's in charge of deals, right? This is why it doesn't work. Because when you give that much power to people, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And it happens all the time. So even with COVID, even with other things that NGOs are involved with, like the We Charity scandal or SNC Lavalin or any of these globalist entities, when there's that much money involved, there will be corruption, guaranteed. There will be corruption, especially if government is involved. Guaranteed. There's a guarantee of corruption when there's that much money involved. And you see it throughout the world with NGOs and these entities. The level of corruption goes through the roof. Look at the Ukraine. The country of Ukraine is fraught with government corruption and has been for a long time, since 1992, since the fall of the Soviet Union. Did you guys know that the Ukraine, the economy of the Ukraine, was literally 100-fold better under the Soviet Union than it was after the fall of the Soviet Union? Completely destroyed the economy, because they used to actually build rockets in the Ukraine. They used to build tanks. They used to build trucks. They had a manufacturing hub in the Ukraine. Gone. All of it's gone. The level of corruption, of course, and of course it's a country that's attracted the Bidens, a U.S. senator and his crackhead son, involved with one of the biggest companies in the Ukraine, corrupt as all get out. It's no wonder, right? It's no wonder. I'm concerned about guaranteed universal income. Yeah, aren't we all? Yeah. Paid to stay home and do nothing. Paid to be completely useless. Yeah, it's just more communism, more socialism. All right, what else do we got here? So there you go, Jerry Diaz. Good for you. And then Armstrong Economics, which is a fantastic website. You guys, if you're not, a member and get updates, I would suggest that you do. Armstrong Economics is fantastic. Anyways, in regards to this article, Zelensky is a traitor to the Ukraine, and there's no question. He's decimated the economy. He was a WEF puppet and sold Ukraine's sovereignty to the EU, NATO, World Economic Forum, UN. And just on that, I'm sure you guys have seen the documentaries of the Maidan protests. This is how ridiculous it all is. The ultra-nationalists, quote unquote, in the Ukraine, who want it to be only Ukrainian, at that march, at that protest, at the same time sponsored and funded by World Economic Forum, the UN, most likely NATO countries, the US, Canada, others. We know this. So we have ultra-nationalists that are somehow in bed with, and we saw it at the protest at the Maidan, EU flags flying everywhere. And somehow this is about Ukraine and Ukrainian sovereignty. Do you see how these people operate? Do you see how the globalists operate at the World Economic Forum and at the UN? They operate by suggesting they're there to protect the sovereignty of the Ukraine, when in fact the 100% opposite is true. They want the destruction of the nation states. They want Ukraine to be decimated like the rest of our countries throughout the West are being decimated. So we are then dependent on this global entity, this global governance. So they've used the nationalist element, and some of that element, of course, we've all seen are Nazis. The Azov Battalion, the right sector, all of these ultra nationalists happen to be Nazi sympathizers. A lot of them are, they just did a march here a little while ago in the name of Bandera, who was their ultra nationalist hero, who was a Nazi sympathizer as well. So it's woven into the government. It's not just this one-off little thing. It's actually very, very present. But it's interesting how they use these people to convince them that they need to have a coup to get rid of the president at the time who didn't want to get his country into the EU, who knew, and the only way to maintain, but again, they're getting pulled from with that entity, and then they're getting pulled by the Russians, right? Because obviously the Russians have interest in the Ukraine, oil and gas, shipping routes, all of these things, Crimea, it's all, Ukraine's a very particular place in the world that's important to a lot of different entities. And again, I'm not a pom-pom boy for Putin. I'm not a big fan of Putin. He came out of the KGB. He came out of, the communist system. I'm not a big fan of the dude. But at the same time, I know exactly what the globalists have in store for the Ukraine. And they're using the people of the Ukraine to achieve these goals. And a lot of them aren't seeing it. Even these ultra nationalists that want to maintain their culture and identity are siding with globalists who want to, in fact, destroy that through this globalist agenda. So it's all a little crazy. But anyways, I recommend, I'm going to take this link and I'm going to put it in the chat. I recommend reading this one. Yes, absolutely. Zen. But yeah, I recommend reading this. I'm just going to read this first paragraph. Ihor Kolomoisky is the oligarch who funded Zelensky and put him in a position to be president. However, this is the very same Kolomoisky who had controlling interest in Burisma Holdings and employed Hunter Biden as a board member for wildly reported salary of $50,000 per month. Russian media quoted the State Department emails referred to Burisma as part of Kolomoisky's financial empire. So again, you know what? I put it in the chat. I suggest you read this. It's very interesting. It gives you an idea the level of corruption and how the Bidens are part of that. The Clintons are part of that. Obama's part of that. Bushes are part of that. It's all the same, which is why the Bushes, the Clintons, and Obamas all came out the other day basically suggesting World War III should happen. It's, idiotic. And then, of course, there's the Toronto Commie Star. Because the same people that call out the media bullshit on COVID are calling out media bullshit on Russia, Ukraine. Doesn't matter the issue. Bullshit is bullshit. Nice try, Commie Star. So basically they're saying, all these morons that denounced the restrictions, denounced the lockdowns, denounced the things that were actually killing more people and destroying our economy and destroying livelihoods, destroying childhoods, destroying families, destroying businesses, all of these things didn't mean anything, right? Didn't mean anything. None of these people that were in these circumstances meant anything, including myself, who, if I was given proper treatment for my illness, if it was offered by our medical establishment, I could have avoided sitting on a vent for 5 weeks in a coma and recovering for a year. And could have very easily died, like so many other people have. And they just completely ignore it. And, no big deal. We don't pay attention. We're not going to take responsibility for not offering any of these early treatment protocols. We'll just ignore it. And the only thing that'll save you is a vaccine, a poison that is experimental and killing people and injuring millions. This is what they do. So the Star likes to, continue this. If we don't like the Russia sanctions, you probably didn't like COVID restrictions. And really all it is, it's the same people like me who are calling out the bullshit in the media. It's a narrative, one single narrative. JP Sears did a really good video the other day on this whole thing. I suggest you watch it. It's hilarious. But that's the thing. There's only one single narrative. And if you don't follow the narrative, then you are labeled an extremist. You're labeled radical. You're labeled a racist, of course, or a bigot or something else that they can use to freeze you out of society simply for disagreeing. But I mean, we can't expect anything less from the Commie Star. This is what they do. I don't know how much money they get every week to write things like this, but there you go.
To take them, it's the right of the people to alter our God-given rights. And it says when government becomes destructive to these ends, meaning when they go above and beyond trying to secure our liberties and trying to take them, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish that government, either by voting or ultimately, God forbid, to use our Second Amendment rights to protect ourselves from tyranny. And I'm just asking all of y'all to unanimously join our sister counties of Wilkes, Surrey, Stokes, Lincoln, and Cherokee and get on board with this thing and publicly demonstrate to us that you're willing to uphold and honor the same oath I took when I put my hand on God's word and held my other hand up to him and swore that I'd give my life to defend that Constitution. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but regardless of what y'all do or don't do, I'm not going to enforce an unconstitutional law. I'm going to protect our God.
I can't tell you how nice it would be if I got to hear some police chief somewhere in this country actually stand up and defend the oath that they took. I can't tell you how happy I would be to hear some police chief, anyone, to stand up like that guy just did and say that they will not enforce mandates that are unconstitutional. How hard is that? But here's the difference between what that sheriff is and what our police chiefs are, right? The difference is that guy is elected by the people in his county, and he's responsible only to the people of his county. Whereas in Canada, these police chiefs are appointed, right? They're appointed by the mayor or the mayor's office or the city council. And of course, in that scenario, the police chief, outside of his oath, is more loyal to his employer, to the people that appointed him to that position, than they are to the people they're supposed to be serving, which is thoroughly disgusting as well. So if there's a police chief out there that would prefer to uphold the oath they have taken and be responsible to the people they were sworn to serve, I'd love to hear from you. If there's one out there, even if it's a smaller detachment, which is probably the only way it would happen. You won't see it out of Saskatoon. You won't see it out of Calgary. You won't see it out of, Edmonton or any of these others. But if there are police chiefs out there that are willing to take a stand and represent the people they're sworn to serve, I'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, info@ffcs.info, if you exist. And I mean, who knows, right? I'd like to say that they do, but I don't know. Although I will say, and I will give kudos to the Vancouver PD, they seem to respect the charter a lot more than any police force I've seen across the country. From what I've seen, the VPD are, they didn't hand out any tickets for gathering. They didn't hand out any tickets like we're fighting here in Saskatchewan. Oh, and by the way, on that note, Scott Moe, if you wanted to actually gain any credibility with the people, I would suggest just waiving all of those ridiculous tickets instead of costing the province, millions in going through these bogus court cases. They're ridiculous, and probably better just to say, yeah, you know what, we were wrong. We went against the charter, and we shouldn't have. Our apologies, and waive the tickets, especially outdoor gatherings. Insane that we got tickets for those. Absolutely insane. So I won't hold my breath. Come on, be nice. Be nice to who? Scott Moe? Not going to happen. All right. Where are we at? So nice job on the part of that police sheriff. Good work. Bill Gates is responsible for more cases of polio in India than unwashed hands. Probably a very true statement. Every party in the Canadian Parliament is globalist. This is all pure theater. What a farce. Before the NDP Lib announcement, we had exactly the same situation. The NDP have been propped up by the Libs for 3 years since they lost a majority. So, again, I talked about that. There's no use beating that dead horse. It is what it is. But so here's an interesting thing. Using Russia-Ukraine war to socially engineer the masses once again. Where have we seen this before? Of course, we saw it with COVID. They socially engineered the masses through fear of this killer virus where 99.96% of the population recovers and survives. And there's the odd few like myself who have serious complications, i.e. pneumonia, that isn't new illness for anybody. It is what it is. Now they want to restrict your driving privileges, and I put privileges in quotations, because of the fuel crunch. Instead of opening the taps in Canada and the US, no, they need to condition. So they're using the situation, of course, in Russia, Ukraine, as an excuse to bring out emergency measures can quickly cut global oil demand by 2.7 million barrels a day, reducing the risk of damaging supply crunch. Lori Hay, do you ever watch the Shadow Davis show? You'd make a great interview for him. Yeah, I saw that you tagged me. Of course, I'm banned on Facebook right now. I'm a bad boy. But I saw that you tagged me in his thing. So, I'm sure he saw it too. And if he wants to have me on, he's, I'll hop on there. No problem. But so here we go. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine resulting in lower supplies to oil markets ahead of peak demand season, the IEA 10-point plan proposes actions to ease strains and price pain. So instead of, fostering economic boons in places like Canada and the United States who are sitting on a shitload of oil, who could relieve the pressure and reduce the prices, no, let's not do that. Let's restrict consumption. Let's restrict the usage. Let's restrict people from driving their cars. And from what I understand, the UK has already done this, telling people not to drive on Sunday. But just check this out. In the face of the emerging global energy crisis triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, practical actions by governments and citizens in advanced economies and beyond, in advanced economies, so Western economies, right? Western nations, of course. Let's hammer Western nations like, because COVID wasn't enough to really destroy these economies. Let's really hammer these people. And beyond can achieve significant reductions in oil demand in a matter of months, reducing the risk of a major supply crunch. A supply crunch? Are you kidding? There is more oil sitting around the world. They've just choked it off is all they've done. They've just choked it, right? They're using this war to choke off Russian oil. There's way more oil around the world than just Russia. This is ridiculous. It's insane, but it doesn't matter because they'll use it to push these green tyrannical bullshit. Reducing the risk of blah, blah, blah. According to a new analysis released by the International Energy Agency today, these efforts would reduce the price pain felt by consumers around the world, lessen the economic damage, shrink Russia's hydrocarbon revenues, and help move oil demand towards a more sustainable pathway. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound anything like the Paris Accord? Does that sound anything like the climate Nazis, the climate douchebags? It's also insane. I actually had somebody on Twitter tell me that we should stop driving, start riding a bike. I don't know where this person was from. Obviously not Saskatchewan. And I asked her, how do you want me to run my business, a small business that is dependent on a big diesel truck, a diesel chipper, and chainsaws? There are some electric options when it comes to chainsaws, but they're ridiculous. They don't work. I need big saws to cut big wood. I need my diesel chipper. None of these things are offered in electrical options, and I wouldn't be able to afford them even if they were, because they would be insanely expensive and ridiculous. So I asked this person, what do you want me to do? They didn't answer because they can't answer because it doesn't enter into their mind, right? They just look at everything through their own lens and could care less about anyone else's situation or small business or whatever that needs fuel in the form of gas or diesel. I mean, it's insane, but these people don't care because they want the destruction of Western civilization. If fully carried out in advanced economies, the measures recommended by the IEA's new 10-point plan would lower oil demand by 2.7 million barrels a day within 4 months, equivalent to the oil demand of all cars in China. This would significantly reduce potential strains at a time when a large amount of Russian supplies may no longer reach the market. And and why aren't they reaching the market? I mean, come on. Because NATO decided they're going to break the agreement from 1992, where they agreed and said they wouldn't move 1 inch closer to Russia. And they've broken that agreement 14 times. Ukraine, if they were to join NATO, would be the 15th time they've broken that agreement, which was Putin's red line. Don't fuck with the Ukraine because that's my red line. And I actually follow through with the red lines that I tell you about, unlike Obama, right? So that's why. This is all orchestrated. This is all planned. This is all coordinated, right? this is how they're going to do these things. I'm just going to pull up this ridiculous 10-point plan. Reduce speed limits on highways by at least 10 kilometers. And I laugh because I know this moron mayor we have in Saskatoon, Charlie Clark, Bike Lanes Charlie. They built a new bridge, and there's a byway that goes, south to Saskatoon and around some subdivisions. And it's ridiculous how slow it is. I think it goes from 50 to 60. It could very easily be 80 or 90. But listen, I guarantee you, this is him living up to stupid ideas like this, right? So now when you see governments coming out and telling you we're going to reduce speed limits on highways by 10 kilometers, you'll know where it came from. Make public transport cheaper. Incentivize micro-mobility, walking and cycling. I wonder if I can get a city bus to haul all my wood chips when I'm done a job. I wonder if I can attach my chipper to the back of a bus. Do you think we could do that? Car-free Sundays in large cities. So much for driving to grandma's in Calgary for the weekend, because we can't drive home on Sunday because it's car-free Sunday. Work from home up to 3 days a week where possible. Oh, okay. How do I do that? Running a tree service. Do I just stay home and cut my own trees? Is that how that works? And just leave the branches on the front lawn? It's just amazing. Alternative private car use in large cities. Oh, okay. So don't drive your own car. Hire somebody else to do it. Urge car sharing and practices that decrease fuel use. Promote efficient use of freight trucks and goods delivery. Right. I wonder what that means. What do you think that means? Well, you can, Charlotte. You can go to church on Sunday. You just have to ride your bike or walk or, fly. I don't know. Yes, Michelle, that's a great idea. Absolutely. Yes, because everyone can work from home. Exactly, right? Right? Of course can. It's like, this is no joke. During the quote-unquote pandemic, I had friends of mine that I used to work with in the joint, and they were actually allowed to work from home. Figure that one out. That one's tough to wrap your head around. I guess the way you do that is you take inmates home with you and you lock them in your basement, and you're sort of responsible for that one. And if everybody took home an inmate, then they could all work from home. It's stupid. It's so insane. Hasten adoption of electric and more efficient vehicles. Right. I've touched on that already. Avoid business travel when alternatives exist. Right. So is this what they do when they have these meetings in Davos? When they have these IPCC meetings, these climate change meetings? Is that what they do? Do they hold them on a Zoom and they all stay home? No, they all fly private jets and private airlines. 1,300 of them was at the last one. 1,300 private jets flew in to Davos to service all of these elite douchebags that tell us that we can't, and they're going to stop us from driving on Sundays, but no problem for them to fly, all over Hell's Half Acre. No problem, right? Prefer high speed and night trains trains to planes where possible. Yeah, right. Because because, you know, Saskatchewan and Alberta and Canada itself is, I mean, it's so small, it's easy to run a train from one corner to the other. No problem. We don't need to fly. Fucking idiots. So anyways, there you go. That's going to save 2.7 million barrels a day. Just do your part, all right? It's just so stupid. It's just ridiculous. All right, we're getting close to the end here. And this was only today's Twitter. I thought I might get through a couple of days of Twitter, but that's the thing with these things, hey? Yeah. Our country, what's left of it, has never been so broke, has never been so divided, has never been so broken, has never been so desperate, has never been so vulnerable, has never been so controlled by foreign entities than it is right now. This is globalism, folks. Yeah. They already had their meeting in January, Don. Yeah, and then of course there's these idiots. I'm not going to spend any time with them. Yeah, and what was this too? Oh yeah, exactly what my friends in the EU say. Yeah, of course. So seriously, who in their right mind who cherishes sovereignty, freedom, and our way of life doesn't support the PPC? No, seriously. I don't get it. Because I don't get it. Because I don't. I mean, just look at our policies. It's what everybody wants. It's what everybody deserves. It's what we cherish. But yet there's so many people that still, I don't know, like that guy we started today off with. Just, I don't know. Elevator doesn't quite go to the top, I guess. I don't know. This I liked. This was really cool. Common sense prevails. Just in, Governor Ron DeSantis declares Sarasota's Emma Weyant as the rightful winner of the 2022 NCAA Division I Women's 500-yard freestyle and signed proclamation. See, that's a beautiful thing. You guys all saw that trans dude who won that race. Quotations. I'm sure you all saw that. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, decided, you know what? That's bullshit. I'm actually going to make a proclamation declaring the woman who actually won the race the winner. And that's that. I love that guy. I love it. He does things that, and here's that JP Sears thing. I'm actually going to play it, and this will be the last thing I talk about in this Twitter roundup. But it's good. It's well worth it.
Hi, I'm the guy that supports.
Hang on, I'm going to do it right on YouTube.
Hi, I'm the guy that supports the current thing. And right now, the current thing that I support with all my heart is Ukraine.
The flag's upside down.
Really? Oh, I thought the yellow went on top. Anytime there's a single narrative being pervasively broadcast with no room for dissent, you know it's got to be true. I get on board real quick. Here's my new profile pic. It's been a long couple of years of tirelessly virtue signaling about different things, but I'm not going to slow down. Stay at home to slow the spread. I still haven't left. 2 weeks for life, baby. Then it was defund the police, then build back better with Hunter's dad, then get the shot, get the booster, and then get another booster, and then get the third booster. And now it's all about supporting Ukraine. Yeah, I'm starting a movement to defund the trees because trees are still growing in Russia, and that's not right. I've taken painstaking efforts to investigate the Ukraine-Russia situation. 100% of my research involves me sitting in front of the TV with my eyes open and my thinking suspended. Now, surprisingly, what my research has concluded is true is exactly what the news has told me is true. To be informed, you got to turn the TV on and your mind off. This situation is not complex. Here's what I've learned. Ukraine is good and Russia is bad. It's that simple. There's really no nuance to this situation. Hey, John, will you denounce Russia?
Why?
Because I'll burn your house down if you don't.
All right, Russians are bad people.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, we should totally go to war, especially as long as it's other people's children going over to die. But World War III, think about it. There's no downside. And everyone loves a trilogy. When I'm not washing my own thinking from my brain with the latest breaking news, I spend a lot of time trolling companies online to get them to suspend operations in Russia. Yeah, thanks to people like me putting relentless anger-fueled pressure on them, McDonald's isn't serving people in Russia anymore. Devastating! Like, what's going to happen to the Russians when they're not constantly eating the most unhealthy food on the planet? They'll probably get weaker. Dude, we got Netflix to stop streaming in Russia. Just going to check and see if Putin surrendered yet. Oh, and Visa, MasterCard, and American Express have frozen all transactions on the Russians. That is awesome. Preventing innocent people from buying things like food. That will definitely stop the Russian military eventually. It's brilliant. Just think about it. The Russians are ruled by an evil dictator who doesn't care about them. So by harming the innocent people that Putin doesn't care about, it'll probably get him to open his heart and stop invading Ukraine. And advocating for this kind of thing definitely shows everyone how great of a person I am. Oh, I'm a good person, so I fully support putting innocent Russians through increased hardship because I'm told to think it's the right thing to do. We need more love in this world. I hate Russians. And if you don't hate Russians, then you are clearly not hateful enough to be qualified as a good person in my book. Oh, cool. BlackRock just suspended all operations in Russia. Yeah. When an evil company that's single-handedly trying to destroy the world as we know it boycotts Russia, then you know it's the right thing to do. Mathematically speaking, here's the results of all my I support Ukraine efforts. People in Ukraine actually being helped? 0. People online knowing they should think more highly of me? 10. But from my past I support the current thing efforts, I've learned that math is racist. So these numbers are completely irrelevant. So I'm going to keep pushing the needle of narcissism forward. Because Ukraine needs me too. Zelensky is my hero. Brave. Just sending out a tweet. I'm inspired by all the heroic things the news tells me he does. As the I support the current thing guy, I've put in a lot of effort the past 2 years advocating for forcing people to stay at home, cover their faces, and advocating for mandates that eliminate personal choice when it comes to someone's body. Sacrificing freedom and democracy for the greater good is the right thing to do. And if you don't think so, then you just want people to die. And I'll tell you this, we need to send our military to Ukraine to protect freedom and democracy. If you don't think so, because you don't want people to die, then you're a far-right extremist, Putin science denier. I'll be honest with you, with the whole pandemic, I eventually stopped trusting the media. I could see through their propaganda to their lies and corruption. After 2 years of lies, they lost my trust. But they wouldn't share anything other than the unequivocal truth about Russia and Ukraine, right? They wouldn't have any incentive to perpetuate any sort of propaganda. And I don't even think they'd be capable of such a thing, even if they wanted to. It's not like you can convince millions of people to believe a lie. I don't think that's possible. People aren't that dumb. I don't know what it is, but I feel so much safer when people agree with me about the current thing. Dude, Starbucks just cut off Russia. This is so helpful. Do you think it's possible to cut off the air supply to Russia? But when people have a different perspective about the current thing than the one me and the media share, I feel so unsafe that I go into a fit of rage and want to smear the person and destroy their life. All in an effort to help Ukraine. I'm pretty sure mass formation psychosis only works with COVID. Hey, why aren't you wearing any blue or yellow? Dude, wouldn't it be great if we started taking the people who don't support Ukraine and locking them into camps? Some people say Zelensky is an abusive dictator himself who's locked his political rivals in prison. No, based on my personal experience in Ukraine by watching the news, I know this is simply not what I'm willing to believe. It's clearly Russian misinformation, probably found on Hunter's laptop, which also doesn't exist based on what the media that I trust has told me. Hunter sure does love Ukraine, though, doesn't he? Supporting Ukraine with every ounce of my being is something I will never stop doing because it's so near and dear to my heart. Unless a new thing comes up that'll help me stand taller as a lamb amongst sheep. Hey there, my friend. If you're a freedom lover, I'd invite you to...
All right, JP Sears, good way to end it. I only got through today's Twitter. I didn't get through much else. Maybe I'll do another show tomorrow. Maybe I should just do this regularly and go through my Twitter feed and talk about the day's events that way. Yeah. I got to give a little love over here to my peeps at DLive. I see they've been chatting it up, and I, of course, have been ignoring them like a douchebag. So my apologies to you folks over on DLive. I do love you. I know I don't show it too often, and I should, but Caper 999, Mark, you're getting better. Very good. Canada needs you and many others more than ever. Thanks, Caper. I appreciate it. I am getting better, and yes, and more energy, and so more opportunity to do these type of things, I hope. GP is great. Yes. Let's see, what else do we got here? I think I saw Rob Rourke. Hey, how you doing, Rob? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I think we realize how well we are doing in waking people up by how large the echo chamber gets. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Mark and Salim. Oh, that must be from the other day. Yeah. BlackRock's AI took over free markets, all of them, called Aladdin, acquired 22 trillion in wealth. Yep, absolutely. This is how UN agenda and the global reset will go through. Corporations will buy up people's debt, and that's how you will owe nothing and be happy. Yeah, hey, Liquid Gal. All right, sounds good. MM Larway, Swan River, let me know. I'd love to do that one in person next time. So, yeah, let me know. I know you guys got a good group of folks out there. So, yeah, let me know. All right, DLive. I wish I could give you guys lemons, but they got rid of that whole thing. So, it is what it is. Can't do it. Anyways, love you, Patriots. Okay, I'm done for tonight. But just remember, globalism, bad. Nationalism, good. All right. Ciao for now. Thanks, Patricia. I am doing much better. All right, Valerie Ann. I'll see what I can do. All right. Anyways, it's been a blast. See you guys next time. Ciao for now.